Once upon a time, there was a beautiful land filled with rolling green hills, sparkling rivers, and enchanted forests. In this magical place lived the rainbow unicorns. The rainbow unicorns were special creatures who brought joy and color to the world. Each unicorn had a shimmering, rainbow-colored mane and tail, and possessed unique magical gifts. Red Rufus could breathe fire to light campfires for weary travelers. Orange Oliver used his magic to ripen fruit on the trees to feed the hungry animals. Yellow Yolanda could glow as bright as the sun to help the villagers find their way home on dark nights. Green Gemma could make flowers instantly bloom with a touch of her horn. Blue Berry could control the rivers and streams, so everyone would have clean water to drink. Indigo Iggy could create radiant rainbows in the sky after storms, to give people hope. And Little Violet used her magic to turn fallen leaves into a kaleidoscope of colors in autumn. The rainbow unicorns lived together in harmony, using their special powers to spread joy across the land. They passed their days frolicking in hidden forest glades, splashing in the glittering streams, and roaming the countryside, sprinkling their magical color dust to turn the world into a vibrant wonderland. At night, they nested in a sparkling cave tucked under a rainbow, sleeping soundly beneath the dancing lights. One morning, the unicorns awoke to find their rainbow cave strangely dark and gloomy. "Oh no!" cried Green Gemma. "Our rainbow has disappeared." The unicorns cantered out of the cave, only to gasp in dismay. Where once there had been a colorful rainbow arching high in the sky, now there was only a faint gray mist. "This is terrible," said Blue Berry. "Without our rainbow, there will be no color or magic in the land." The unicorns knew they had to act quickly before the world turned completely bleak and colorless. Red Rufus bravely stepped forward. "Rainbow unicorns, we must find where our rainbow went and restore its vibrant colors." The other unicorns cheered in agreement, determined to get their rainbow back. And so the rainbow unicorns set off on a magical journey to find their lost rainbow and bring the colors back to their world. Their first stop was the Misty Mountains to visit Orion, the ancient star watcher. Orion saw all that happened in the skies with his powerful telescope. "Wise Orion, do you know what happened to our rainbow?" asked Violet politely. In his deep, booming voice, Orion replied, "Young unicorns, your rainbow was stolen by the sneaky rainbow thief who lives in the Valley of Shadows." The rainbow unicorns gasped in alarm. The Valley of Shadows was a gloomy, dangerous place that no one dared to visit. But they knew they had to be brave and continue their quest to rescue their rainbow from the villainous rainbow thief. "Thank you, Orion. We will get our rainbow back," promised Indigo Iggy. Then the unicorns carefully made their way down the steep, twisting mountain trail that led to the gloomy Valley of Shadows below. When the rainbow unicorns arrived at the edge of the Valley of Shadows, they hesitated. Eerie shades of deep purple, charcoal, and black filled the air, muting their bright colors. "I don't like this place," whispered Orange Oliver with a shudder. "But we have to keep going for the sake of our rainbow," said Red Rufus bravely. Taking a deep breath, Rufus led the unicorns into the shadows. Strange creatures peered out from behind jagged rocks as the unicorns walked carefully through the dark valley. They passed bubbling black mud pits and twisted, thorny vines dangling from crooked trees. Every step took them deeper into darkness. Finally, the rainbow unicorns arrived at a yawning cavern, the lair of the rainbow thief. Lighting their horns, the brave friends slowly entered the cave. At the back, surrounded by piles of stolen rainbows, sat the terrible rainbow thief. He was a grouchy ogre with warty green skin and a matching green mohawk. "Ha!" he bellowed when he saw the unicorns. "Come to take back your rainbow, have you? You'll never get past me." Green Gemma bravely shouted back, "That rainbow belongs to us and the people of our land. You must return it." The ogre just laughed. Red Rufus whispered a plan to his unicorn herd. Then, on his signal, they charged forward. As the ogre reached for them, Orange Oliver shot a beam of magic from his horn, blinding the brute. Indigo Iggy lassoed his legs with shimmering rainbow rope while Violet distracted him with a dazzling illusion. Finally, Yellow Yolanda and Blueberry rammed the ogre from both sides, knocking him down. With the defeated rainbow thief groaning on the ground, the clever unicorns raced forward and gathered up all the stolen rainbows. "No! My beautiful rainbows," the ogre sobbed. But the unicorns ignored him. Their mission was to return the rainbows and color to their land. As the rainbow unicorns left the gloomy valley, carrying the armfuls of glowing rainbows, the sunlight began streaming through the darkness. They marched up the mountain as fast as their hooves could carry them. At the top, they stood proudly beneath Orion's observatory. "You did it," boomed the Star Watcher. One by one, the rainbow unicorns raised the brilliant rainbows overhead. Red Rufus went first, releasing a burst of red light. Orange Oliver followed, then Yellow Yolanda, Green Gemma, Blueberry, Indigo Iggy, and finally Little Violet. As the rainbows arced into the sky, they swirled and combined in a dazzling display of color and light. "We did it," cheered the unicorns, prancing with joy beneath the restored rainbow. Through their bravery and teamwork, the rainbow unicorns brought the magical rainbow back to their land, along with all the wonder and beauty it contained. Once upon a time there was a brave and kind princess named Zoe who lived in a large castle with her parents, the king and queen. Zoe loved exploring the forests and meadows around the castle and going on adventures with her best friends, a smart fox named Finley and a silly goose named Honk. One sunny morning, Zoe, Finley and Honk were playing outside when they noticed dark storm clouds gathering in the distance. Suddenly, there was a loud clap of thunder and the raindrops started falling. "Oh no!" cried Zoe. "We need to get back to the castle before we get soaked." The three friends started running through the meadow back towards the castle. But the rain was falling harder and they could barely see where they were going. As they got closer to the castle, there was a bright flash of lightning and poof! A magical, glowing portal opened up in front of them. "What is that?" gasped Zoe. The portal swirled with magical colors and sparkles. Finley's eyes went wide. "I think it's a portal to another world. Should we go in?" Before they could decide, a strong wind pulled them towards the portal and they were swept inside. After a dizzying ride through a tunnel of magical lights, Zoe, Finley and Honk tumbled out onto soft grass. When they stood up and looked around, they couldn't believe their eyes. "This definitely isn't our meadow," said Zoe. Lush green hills rolled out as far as they could see under a sunny blue sky. Fluffy white clouds floated overhead. Strange and wonderful plants grew all around them. "Where are we?" honked Honk. "I don't know, but I can't wait to explore," said an excited Zoe. The three friends set off to see what they could discover in this new, mysterious world. After hiking over the green hills, they came to a glittering blue lake. Tiny winged creatures that looked like a mix between birds and butterflies were flitting around colorful flowers on the shore. Finley frowned. "I've never read about creatures like those in any of my books." Just then, one of the flying creatures noticed them and zoomed over. "Hello there. Welcome to the kingdom of Alverdale. I'm Alyssum," she said in a musical voice. Zoe giggled. "I'm Zoe, and this is Finley and Honk. We came here through a magic portal." Alyssum smiled. She had glittery wings and flowers in her hair. "Alverdale is full of magic. Let me show you around." And she took off flying slowly so they could follow her along the lake shore. As they walked, Alyssum told them all about Alverdale. The kingdom was ruled by Queen Aria, who protected the land with powerful magic. All kinds of magical creatures lived there, from flying pixies to bubbly mermaids in the lake. The friends saw it all with wide eyes and open mouths. Eventually, the group came to a glittering crystal city nestled between two green mountains. Below the city, a sparkling waterfall cascaded into the lake. "This is the capital city of Alverdale," Alyssum announced. Zoe was speechless at how beautiful it was. Inside the city, the streets were lined with crystalline buildings that glowed in the sunlight. Amazing plants and magical fountains were everywhere. Kind-looking people with pointed ears waved at them as they passed. "Those are moon elves," Alyssum explained. "And over there are the star elves." Zoe turned to see elegant beings with huge, shimmering wings smiling at them. She couldn't believe how incredible this world was. What adventure would they find next? After exploring the city, Alyssum said, "Queen Aria's crystal palace is just up ahead. We should go meet her." The palace sat at the top of a hill overlooking the city, shining like a rainbow-colored jewel. Guards in silver armor stood at the gates. "Halt," one said. "What business do you have with Queen Aria?" Alyssum stepped forward. "These are visitors to our land. They came through a portal and wished to meet the queen." The guards whispered to each other, then nodded and opened the gates. Inside the throne room, Queen Aria sat on a glittering crystal throne. She had long, ethereal hair the same shade as her silver gown. A tiara of white jewels rested on her brow. "Welcome," she said in a warm yet regal voice. Zoe and her friends bowed. "Greetings, Your Majesty," said Zoe. "We are travelers from another world. Your kingdom is so beautiful." Queen Aria smiled. "Thank you. I hope you enjoy the magic of Alverdale." Just then, a guard rushed in. "Your Majesty," he cried. "Terrible news, the dragon has escaped." The queen stood up sharply, her gown swirling around her. "No. How could this happen?" The guard caught his breath. "We don't know. But the southern villages are in flames, and people have fled in terror from the beast." Queen Aria swept down the palace steps, blinking back tears. In the distance, Zoe could see a dark shape circling and roaring, with a glow of fire around it. Her heart beat faster. "A real dragon." "I thought the dragon was sealed with magic," said Alyssum anxiously. "He was. But somehow, he's broken free." The queen turned to the friends. "I must go stop the dragon before he destroys everything. Will you help me?" Zoe trembled but stepped forward. She may have been scared, but the queen needed help. Finley and Honk agreed too. They had to at least try to stop the dragon. So the brave friends joined Queen Aria as she flew toward the monstrous dragon, her silver wings glittering in the sunlight. Zoe gulped as they approached the scaly, writhing beast shooting flames into the sky. This would be their most dangerous adventure yet. "Distract the creature while I use my magic," called Queen Aria. Zoe and her friends charged toward the dragon shouting and waving their arms, ready to dodge the pillars of flame bursting from its mouth. The dragon snarled and snapped its massive jaws at them. Zoe rolled under its claws while Finley darted around, looking for weak spots. Honk flapped his wings madly. "Over here, you overgrown lizard," he yelled. The dragon whipped its spiked tail around, just missing Honk. Meanwhile, Queen Aria floated above the beast, arms raised as she chanted a magical spell. Glowing ropes appeared around the thrashing dragon, trying to hold it down. But the dragon blasted them apart with flames. "My magic isn't enough," cried Queen Aria. Zoe frantically looked around for anything to help. Then she spotted a rocky overhang nearby. "Finley, Honk, follow me. I have an idea." The clever princess hurried toward the overhang with her friends. When she explained her plan, they nodded excitedly. Working together, the trio pushed with all their might against the rocky overhang until finally it broke free and tumbled down onto the dragon's back, pinning it to the ground under the heavy weight. The dragon roared and thrashed, but couldn't break free this time. "Excellent work," shouted Queen Aria. With the magical ropes and the rocks, the thrashing dragon was fully trapped. The queen cast one final spell to seal the beast deep below the mountains so it could never escape again. Everyone in the capital city cheered when they heard the brave princess and her friends had helped defeat the dragon. Queen Aria hugged them tightly. "You showed immense courage and quick thinking today. We will hold a grand feast tonight to celebrate." That night, the palace glittered with lights as a magical ceremony was held to thank the heroes. Alyssum placed flower crowns on their heads. "Alverdale will be forever grateful," she said sweetly. Zoe grinned, proud they were able to help their new friends. After the feast, Queen Aria used her magic to create another portal that would take Zoe, Finley and Honk back home. "Your kingdom needs their brave princess," she told Zoe. It was bittersweet, but Zoe knew it was time to return home. She would never forget their adventures in Alverdale. Queen Aria, Alyssum, and all the new friends they had made lined up to send them off. Before stepping through the portal, Zoe turned and said, "Thank you for this amazing journey. I hope one day we will return." The Queen smiled kindly. "Of course, brave ones. Alverdale's gates will always be open to you." Zoe waved one last time. Then, holding hands with Finley and Honk, she leaped through the portal. Once upon a time there was a happy snowman named Frosty. Frosty lived in a beautiful snowy village in the mountains. All day long Frosty would play with the village children, making snow angels and having snowball fights. At night, Frosty would gaze up at the starry sky and dream about going on an adventure. One cold Christmas Eve, after the children had all gone to bed, Frosty was busy decorating a Christmas tree with twinkling lights and shiny ornaments. Suddenly, he noticed a bright light in the night sky. It was Santa's sleigh being led by Rudolph, his red nose glowing bright. As Frosty watched the sleigh land on a nearby rooftop, he had an idea. This was his chance to meet Santa and ask for an adventure. Frosty rushed over to the house just as Santa was climbing back into his empty sleigh. "Excuse me, Santa. I'm Frosty and I was hoping I could get a ride in your magical sleigh tonight," he asked politely. "Why, of course," said Santa. "Climb aboard, Frosty. Tonight you'll get the adventure of a lifetime." Frosty eagerly jumped into the sleigh beside Santa and they zoomed up into the night sky. Frosty could hardly contain his excitement as the sleigh flew up into the clouds. He marveled at the twinkling lights of villages below. After delivering presents around the world, they landed at the North Pole. Frosty gazed in awe at the bright Christmas lights and decorations covering the elf workshops and cottages. Santa's castle shone like a jewel with its massive Christmas tree visible through tall windows. Santa gave Frosty a tour of the workshops where the elves made toys year-round. Frosty got to see new toys being tested and helped the elves feed the reindeer. Finally, Santa took Frosty to the magic room where Santa's list was kept. Frosty was amazed to see his name along with all the village children's names on the list. Santa explained how he knows who's naughty or nice. After the tour, Santa invited Frosty to the castle dining room for milk and cookies. The elves performed Christmas songs and dances to entertain their guest. Frosty had the best night ever. But soon it was time for the next night's deliveries. Frosty thanked Santa for the wonderful adventure before climbing back into the sleigh. Frosty dozed off in the sleigh as Santa finished up his gift deliveries for the night. He awoke just as the sleigh landed back in his village. After thanking Santa again, Frosty watched the sleigh take off into the starry sky with a jolly, "Ho ho ho." Frosty walked home with a big smile, excited to tell his friends about his Christmas adventure the next day. He knew he would never forget that magical night with Santa and looked forward to more adventures. Once upon a time there was a baby unicorn named Sparkle who lived in a magical forest with all the other unicorns. Sparkle loved frolicking in the meadows, taking bubble baths in the Rainbow River, and stargazing at night. One morning, all the unicorns in the forest gathered together for their first flying lesson. One by one, each young unicorn flapped their wings and took off into the blue sky, galloping over the treetops. Sparkle watched in awe as her friends soared through the clouds. When it was Sparkle's turn, she took a deep breath and ran across the meadow as fast as she could. But no matter how hard she flapped her wings, Sparkle stayed firmly on the ground. She felt embarrassed as the other baby unicorns flew in circles above her. Sparkle wondered what she could be doing wrong. That night, Sparkle told her mother Twilight what had happened. Twilight said, "Don't worry, my little Sparkle. We'll go see the wise old dragon tomorrow and find out why your wings aren't working yet." The next morning, Sparkle and Twilight set off on an adventure to visit the wise old dragon who lived in the crystal caves. After a long journey over the misty mountains, through the shadow forest, and across the river of rubies, Sparkle and her mother finally arrived at the crystal caves. The wise old dragon was sleeping when they entered the sparkling caves. "Wake up, great dragon, we need your help," Twilight called. The old dragon opened one big yellow eye and asked, "How can I help you?" Twilight explained what had happened during Sparkle's first flying lesson. Let me take a look," rumbled the dragon as he lowered his big head to examine Sparkle's tiny wings. He stretched them out carefully and felt along the bones. After a few moments the dragon said, "Aha, just as I suspected. Your wings are still too little and weak for flying." Sparkle's eyes filled up with tears. The dragon continued, "But don't worry, young one, your wings just need more time to grow. Keep trying each day and before you know it, you'll be soaring as high as your friends." Sparkle dried her tears and smiled. The dragon was right, she just needed to be patient and keep practicing. Sparkle thanked the dragon for his help before she and her mother headed back home. Over the next few weeks, Sparkle exercised her wings every day, flapping them back and forth and up and down. Little by little they grew bigger and stronger. Finally one morning Sparkle woke up and just knew today was the day. She went to the meadow where the flying lessons took place. With a twitch of her tail and a gleam in her eye, Sparkle took off across the meadow even faster than before. She galloped faster and faster and then jumped into the air, flapping her wings with all her might. Sparkle squeezed her eyes shut at first, scared to look down. But when she heard the other unicorns cheering, "You're flying, you're flying," she opened her eyes and realized she was soaring up into the clouds. Sparkle sailed smoothly through the sky, looping in big circles along with her friends. Her heart pounded with joy and pride. That night they had a special celebration for Sparkle finally learning how to fly. And Sparkle knew if she kept trying, she could overcome any obstacle that came her way. She fell asleep that night dreaming about where her wings would take her on adventures tomorrow and beyond.